Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle, and today we are revisiting this frame project. The last time you saw me do this was in February when I used this fun frame that I found while I was moving to make a Valentine's Day frame, and now it's time to make it springy. I started this in March, didn't finish it till April, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. So I was originally going to do like an Easter theme for this next version of the frame video, only to discover I didn't have a ton of Easter stuff, and I ended up traveling and doing things and not getting it done before Easter, really. I think I got it done like the week of Easter, so I decided to just go with a spring one, and who knows, maybe next year it'll work out better and I'll actually get an Easter one done. So I also, when I started this, was in my major. Gina had just come out with the Polyglaze for foiling, and I was in a very, very foiling type of mood. So I decided to use some of the foiling sheets that I did. I had a Saturday, and I spent almost the entire day just pre-foiling sheets in different colors. And I kind of fell in love with these purple butterflies, especially when I was doing that, and I decided I wanted to do foiling as sort of the center technique for this, but there isn't much to show, and since I had already pre-foiled everything, I didn't have much to show for the video, so I decided to mix it up and do a few other things because there were some stamp sets I wanted to include and play with in the frame for spring because I had a few in mind. And I like to also, and this, where this section kind of comes in, is that I also like to have some kind of greeting or saying or something. Valentine's Day was easy because they were all love and I had a happy Valentine's Day stamp, but I didn't really have anything that worked for this size and where this piece was going that said like happy spring or anything like that. But when I started this project, I was getting ready for a trip to Disneyland, and I found this stamp in the Gina K Design Stained Glass Flowers stamp set that said believe in your dreams, and it just felt appropriate, and who doesn't need that message from time to time? So I decided to go with that as sort of like the central theme for this one. So I thought this time now that I've done this twice, the first time was totally random. Like February's was just like, hey, we're just going to figure this out as we go. Now that this is the second time I've done one of these frames, I have a little bit more of a strategy this time. So in the frame, you'll see there's two center pieces, I guess. It's kind of like a collage frame, so there's two pieces in the center, and they're both vertical, and then around the outsides, there's ones that are horizontal and vertical. So, you saw earlier in the video that I took the foily bits and put them around the outside. That is one thing I would change, is I only used a couple of the foil sheets that I had done previously, and I wish I would have cut up one more and done the whole outside foil and then just the two inside pieces as some kind of creational artwork like this, because it looks kind of weird because now there's like the two stamped thingies and then one foil thing, and it or one non-foil thing on the outside, and it looks kind of funny. When I take this down to do the next one, which will be a summer themed one, when I take this down, I will probably get rid of one of the non-stamped pieces for this version of it and add in another foil piece. Just because I've filmed this a while back and I've now been looking at it for a while, and I just think that would be better. So that was the centerpiece I just did with the Believe in Your Dreams. This was actually a video or a suggestion I came up with watching back and editing another video when I was doing the baby shower card a couple weeks ago, where I was wondering if you could make like a background with just the leaves, because I did it with just the flowers, and I decided this was the perfect place to try it. So I am using the leaves from the Daisies Forever stencil bundle from Gina K Designs to just kind of make a random pattern background. And that's it for this piece. I guess I lied. So there is another one on the outside because I did 4 non-foil pieces. I'm gonna have to look at the frame again and decide what I want to do. But yeah, I forgot about this one, honestly. So then I decided there's these little flowers on the stencils that aren't daisies. They're just like little, I call them floofy flowers. I don't know if they have a name or not. I'm not good at flowers. And I thought they were supposed to layer, but then I started looking at them and I realized I didn't know if they were supposed to layer. But then because it's me, I decided they were gonna layer because they should. I don't know if they should. I decided I wanted them to. That's probably the better explanation. So I used my Genie K lilac inks thinking they were gonna layer. And they do, like there's bigger ones and there's smaller ones, but I don't think I was supposed to layer them. And this is where I admit I should have left it right there. I should not have layered them. And this is why I even started questioning it because I liked it with just the one layer. But no, I was stubborn and I had all 3 inks out and I decided I was going to keep going. And sometimes you really, 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 really just need to know when to quit. And I'll admit, for the most part, I'm usually pretty good about knowing where to quit. But I overdo it every now and again, and this time I overdid it. The leaves needed the second layer for sure, but the flowers, I'm not even sure at this point they're supposed to layer. They don't really line up. And I should have just left it. I don't know what I was thinking. But you know what? It's done now. I did what I did. This might be the one that goes, though, if I decide to redo the frame. But I definitely think I'm going to do this on a full card eventually. Now that I'm kind of back in the groove, I took a little break for a while, and now that I'm kind of back in the groove of things, I have so many ideas. So I still have a busy couple weeks ahead of me yet, but hopefully I can at least keep up with videos during that. So there you go. So you can see, like, I've got that in the center, and then this one goes, because this one could go either way, it was vertical or horizontal the way I did it, I used that to fill the other horizontal space. And then I knew that because then that one was done and everything else I had to do was vertical. That is the one thing about this frame, is I'm kind of bad at pre-planning what needs to go vertical and what needs to go horizontal, and sometimes all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is the idea I have for this one, and then I do it, and then I realize that I don't have that space left, and I have to try to figure out what I can move. So I need to work on the pre-planning on this one a little bit. That's probably true in most of my life, but now I'm just going to do a simple kind of stamped one. This is the Genie K Designs Anemone Wishes stamp set. This I believe is, no, I don't believe it's retired. I know this one is retired. I got this from a friend. I didn't even buy it myself. And she was cleaning out her craft stuff, and I didn't have this set yet, and decided, I might as well take it. So this one is retired, unfortunately, but I still wanted to pull it out and use it for this. I actually had originally intended to do it, to layer it and stuff, but then decided I was more in the mood to color, but I messed up the coloring. So don't, it's fine though. It still comes out okay in the end, and I just, again, it was one of those, like, I started and went, I don't think this is gonna work the way I think it's gonna work, and then it didn't, but it's okay. It's hanging up in my bathroom. This frame hangs in my bathroom, so I'm not usually super, like, it has to be perfect, because for the most part, I'm the only person who sees it. Although I am thinking about moving it to my living room, but I'd have to, like, put somewhere to hang it up in my living room. But I kind of know where I want it to go, so I might move it eventually. Maybe in the summertime, when I do the summer one, I'll actually move it. This was what I forgot, the magic that is the stick and stamp mat. I think I cut all that out. I wasn't really paying attention because I was staring at my wall, trying to envision putting the frame up where I want to put it. Stick and stamp mats, life-changing. Don't forget you have them. I don't care if it is the Brutus Monroe one, the Misty one. Somebody else has one. Simon Says Stamp has one that they partnered with Brutus Monroe to do. These things are life-changing. I use mine so much, but for some reason I also tend to forget it exists until I get frustrated with something and then go, oh wait, I should use my stick and stamp mat. Like, this is why it's life-changing, because this is a nice big A2 background stamp. And I only have a little tiny piece of paper. I don't want to put the paper in the corner of my MISTI because it's not going to, like, the stamp's not going to fit. So the stick and stamp mat lets me very easily put the little piece of paper in the middle of my MISTI, and it stays there so I can stamp more than once. And it also don't have to worry about, like, using, you have, like, the MISTI corners and stuff like that to help with, you know, larger stamps, but just the way that one was, I couldn't use those because they got in the way of the stamp, because the stamp was bigger than the paper. So, stick and stamp mat to the rescue. Now you guys just get to watch me color, which you guys watch me do all the time, but I'm just using this Copic marker to color in the background. I'm going to zoom in a minute. The other thing I wanted to do with this one is I have the Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pens, and I'm going to give you a little tips on those now, because I'm about to pull, well, I'm not about to, because I have to color the whole background, but I'm going to pull them out in a minute and use them. So, one, my sparkle pens are very, very old now. I think I probably got them in like 2017 or 2018, so they're getting older. And two, I don't use them enough. And I love them. They're great pens. They're great sparkle markers. They're super sparkly usually. And they're lots of fun to play with. But they do not like not being used. They get a little fussy if you don't use them. And so mine are a little bit fussy. They get a little juicy. They get a little leaky if you don't use them, or if you take them on an airplane. So I have not taken mine on the airplane, but I took a class from someone who took an airplane and had their sparkle markers on the airplane, and they were a hot mess. They weren't a hot mess. That sounded weird. The markers were very, very leaky because they did not like the airplane, airplane's pressure thing. Yeah, they didn't like those. It does help if you, like, leave the cap off, but I cut it out of the video, so that's why I'm talking about it now, because you're not going to see it. So there's the sparkle pens. I used too dark of a purple. I should have used a lighter purple. But you can see now there's a piece of paper up at the top with all the purple scribbles on it, because my marker was leaking and it was so juicy. And if you ever have your Copic markers do the thing where, like, you're just, like, minding your own business and all of a sudden it's like bleh, and it, like, throws up on your paper, or, you know, like, too much ink comes out of it and it's just like bleh, all over your coloring, and then you're mad because you're almost done or whatever. That's what this was doing to me. It was super juicy. So I just took it and colored with it a little bit on a separate piece of paper just to try to get it to not be so obnoxiously juicy, and it helped. I still had ink everywhere because it was leaking from, you know, not being used, and all the ink kind of settles and stuff, and it happens. But if you're better than me and you use them more often, and because, like, when I was using them all the time when I first got them, and they were fine. It's just when I stopped using them that they started to get a little bit funky. But I leave them out on my desk now. When I moved and set up my new craft room, I put them in a drawer on my desk. So they're handy, and so I'm hoping that gets me to use them a little bit more, and that should make them see, like, you can see, look, it blooped. It blooped all over the place. So, and you can see, like, already in this clip, I'm pointing at the screen, like, you can see me pointing at the screen, but it does sink into the paper pretty quickly. Now, I don't know what paper that is. I'm kind of assuming it's probably AG Nikkei Designs white paper. I don't know which one. And these are just, the rectangles are just made out of some white paper that I had kind of chilling out. I don't even know what brand it's from. And yeah, so we're just coloring that in. The green looks so much better than the purple. The purple was too dark. The green is perfect though. I don't really get fancy with my sparkle markers. I don't do any fancy coloring techniques unless I'm going to watercolor with them, which I haven't done in a while, so maybe we should do that one of these days. But you can watercolor with them, which is really fun, because then you get, like, sparkly watercolor. And then we're just going to color this one. This one I'm doing all in Copic markers. I knew I wanted to do pink as the big flower in the middle, so I did that. And then from there kind of decided what colors I wanted to do for the rest of the flowers. And I decided to go with kind of a pastel-y situation. So I end up using a very light blue, green. I used the same yellow from the last one, and blue, green, yellow, and a purple. And this one, I don't even do anything fancy with this one. I just color it in pretty simply. It's going in the back of the frame, like the back row of the frame, if you can call it that. So I was like, it doesn't need to be anything super fancy looking. It's just gonna chill in the background. But I really wanted to sort of color. I've been wanting to color this stamp set, and I thought I'd take the opportunity. And it's kind of nice because it is a smaller piece, so it doesn't take 8,000 years to color. Not that it necessarily has to take 8,000 years to color if you do it on a big piece, depending on how you want to color it. But I could really bust out my markers and color it in. I actually would really love to do this piece or this image in colored pencils and get super detailed with it, but I just did not have the time for that for this video. But that's still on the list of things that I would like to do with this one someday, is tackle it with colored pencils. That's the difference between colored pencils and markers for me personally, is I tend to be a little less detailed with my markers than I am with my pencils. And it's really funny because when I started coloring, I was a die-hard Copic girl. Like, that was my medium of choice. Like, colored pencils were not my jam. I couldn't get them to do what I wanted them to do, and I found them kind of frustrating and whatever. And then, thanks to a lovely coworker of mine who's very talented at colored pencils, and the lovely Elise at Kitten Clouder, my pencil skills now miles outshine my marker skills, and I enjoy doing them so much more. They do take a lot of time though, so you don't always see me do them on videos, just because markers are quicker than pencils, and because I don't tend to get as detailed as my markers, it's easier to show in a video. But I really should bust out my pencils more often on this channel and you know, do them more. I think people would like that. So, and then I'm just using a light blue color to I used to fill in. There's little bits of the background. I think I filled them in. Maybe I don't. Now I don't remember. It's been a while since I filmed this. But this is the end. There it is. We're done. Yeah, I do use a light blue. You can't even see it because it's so light. But there it is. I'm still pretty happy with how it came out. And that's it. You're going to see some pictures of it. This is just on my table, and then there are some pictures of it hanging up in my bathroom. So that's it, though. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.